So to make your needle felt lemon slice, you are going to need your roving wool, your needle felt needles, and your brush mat or your cushion base, and also a optional keyring or swivel clip if you want to attach it onto something. The three colours that you will need to make this is a yellow roving wool, a white roving wool for the base, and black roving wool, and that will be the details for the eyes and the mouth. We need to start with the base, so we're going to unravel the roving wool and then we rip, tear and peel away. We don't cut, because if you cut you make blunt lines which are far harder to blend into your piece, so I would always rip and tear. So we are going to estimate a chunk here, so I'm going to pinch a good amount. You can see how much I'm using there with my thumb and fingers. Tear that apart down the length of roving wool. And then I have my strand ready to go. You can always add more roving wool, but you can't take it away once you start felting. So you can always make it a bit smaller and add to it. So what I recommend doing for this, because we want to make the base firmer, I'm going to take one end of the strand and start rolling it into a sausage shape, a bit like a cylinder. So it's a very basic cylinder shape. You can pull and manipulate the wool to make it bigger or wider. It's still squidgy, but this will help get a thicker base to work onto. We are going to make the lemon shape out of this. When you roll it up, if it's not the size you want, you can always add more roving wool. Don't worry too much if it's looking too big, as it will shrink a bit more as you felt it. You can drape more wool over it or unravel, add more wool and roll it back into a cylinder shape again. It's better for it to be slightly smaller and you can add more than be too big. You can't easily rip the wool away as it becomes too meshed once you start felting. Have it roughly the size you want or maybe a shade smaller. This is where you're going to either need a brush mat or a cushion base or a bit of polystyrene, whatever base that you prefer working on. So I'm going to start with the brush mat and then later on I'm going to use my cushion here. And basically the brush mat stops the needle from breaking. So when I'm using the needle, it goes into the bristles and it's not hitting the table. So it's not going to damage the table or damage the needle, because otherwise it can snap. The brush mat is also good to hold on to the roving wool because the bristles connect to the fibres, so it holds it better in place. So I pop my white base onto the brush mat and then I'm going to start felting. This is a needle felt needle, and if you look closely at the ends there are tiny little barbs, and these barbs catch the fibres as you felt, and when it catches the fibres it meshes them together, so it brings your piece together and it gets firmer. Now to start off with the base, I like to use a 32 or 36 gauge to get started with, and needle felt needles come in different gauges, so like I said, I like to use the 32 or the 36 gauge to get started. So to start felting, you want to hold the needle nice and straight. You don't want it to bend or it will snap. So you can come straight down from the top, you can come straight at it from the side. Just don't bend and twist because it will snap the end of the needle. So as you stab in, you want to keep it nice and straight. Now only the bottom part of the needle needs to go in. It doesn't need to go very far, just far enough so that the barbs can catch the fibres. So I do it in short stabbing motions, and as you can see the needle goes into the wool and into the bristles, so it's not hitting the table, and the more that you felt it starts meshing those fibres together. So it starts off very soft, very squidgy, and the more you felt, it will start to get firmer. So we're going to start felting here and get the initial shape of the lemon slice. So I want the straight bit at the top and then more rounded at the bottom. So you can take your time here, just small little stabbing motions. The more you do this, the quicker you can get with it. You can also get these needles with different handles, which are a little bit easier on your hands to hold than the needle itself. But for today, I'm just showing you how to use the actual needle. So I'm going to start shaping here around the curve of the lemon. So as you can see on that side there, I've worked it a little bit more. It's becoming more curved, while the other side is still quite open. So keep on going, keep shaping your lemon slice until it feels a lot firmer. I like to sometimes change to the cushion base just because the cushion base is smoother, because I sometimes find with the brush mat the bristles make it quite fluffy. So I like to switch in between, especially when I'm getting near the end of my felting, just because the cushion's a lot smoother and it doesn't kind of tease away some of those fibres. You'll also want to make sure that you flip it over onto the other side, because the other side can still be quite fuzzy. So keep on flipping it over back and forth to make sure that both sides are nicely felted. You'll also want to be careful of your fingers, because it's very easy to stab into your fingers. So if you're accident prone like I am, you can always use a thimble or a finger guard just to protect your fingers from that needle, particularly because those barbs do hurt. So if you need to, feel free to grab a thimble or a finger guard just to keep yourself safe. This process can take a long time to felt. The more you felt, the firmer and smoother it will get. So it's up to you how long you go for with your felting. If you find that it's feeling a bit too thin or any areas are being a little bit difficult to try and shape, you can always add more roving wool. So you can tear more of the white wool off and add it to your piece in any areas that it's looking a little bit sparse. So for mine, I'm just going to add a little bit more wool in the corner here, just because it's looking a little bit on the thin side. So I'm just going to drape a little bit of wool in that area and then felt it on and just kind of blend it in to the base. As you can see, I've been felting away and making that lemon shape there. Now you can make this thicker. If you make it too thin, any details you do on the top will come out the other side. You can add more roving wool over the top, or starting off with, you can add some more. If not, what you can do on the other side is you can cut out a felt sheet and stick that onto the back so that it's nice and neat. So what I'm going to do now is felt the flat top line thinner so that the outer curve is more of a ridge and it's a bit thicker. Just a little bit, not too much. Just so that it's thinner here, it goes up in a sort of gradient. I'm now going to get the yellow roving wool and start around the curve to make the rind. So unravel again, tearing just a small amount. I then drape it around the curve. Then I'm going to come in from the side and felt the yellow wool onto the base. Remember, start with a small amount, you can always add more to it. As you can see, I've now done the rind, and you can keep on going to make it as smooth as you like, but I'm now going to start adding in the triangle details with the yellow roving wool to make those lovely segments inside the lemon. So again, I'm going to take the yellow roving wool and tear a small amount off. I like to layer it, so I like to tear up the roving wool and lay it on top of each other. I'm going to put it onto the lemon and start shaping it into a bit of a triangle or teardrop shape, and I do that as I felt. I've made a second segment on the other side. So now what I'm going to do is make the two central segments, the two central triangles, using the exact same technique as before. Now that we've got our lemon, we want to put a little face on it. So I'm going to do that with the black roving wool. You really only want the tiniest amount, and I'm going to roll it up in a ball using my fingers. I do the same thing again for the second eye, roughly the same size. And then we are going to felt them onto the lemon slice. A 40 or 42 gauge needle would be really useful here, as that's brilliant for detailing. So there we have two eyes, and now we want to focus on the mouth. You can do different types of expressions, a shocked face, a smirk, you can change the eyes, or you can change the mouth. I'm just going to do a simple smile. So again, using the tiniest amount of black, I roll it into a thin strand and I start to fold it. I like to do this a few times until I'm happy with the size. I then attach the mouth by felting it on. And there you have your cute little lemon face. You can make some optional little legs so you can get that lovely little Jellycat style. So I'm taking some yellow roving wool and folding and rolling it into a sausage shape. I do this until I'm happy with the rough sizing of it. And then I start felting the leg. every now and then I like to pick it up and roll it in between my hands. I also want to make sure that I round the ends a bit by felting it into a bit more of a curved shape. Then I want to bend and curve it to look like little feet. I felt more on the crease and the bend to form the shape. I'm going to now do the same thing for the second leg. So now that we've got the little legs, we're going to attach it onto the base. With the needle, I attach the leg onto the curve of the lemon. And I then do the same for the other leg. And there you have your lemon slice. You can either leave it as is, or you can attach a keyring. To do that, I like to use a needle to make a small hole through the lemon. You can either use the needle felt needle, but I like to use a normal needle. I give it a bit of a twist and a wiggle to make the hole slightly larger. Don't put the hole too close to the edge, otherwise it can break through. I'm then going to get my keyring and pop it through the hole. You can also add a swivel clip onto it. And there your lemon slice is ready to hang onto a bag or a set of keys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and let me know what fruit keyring you'd like to see next. If you enjoy needle felting or similar crafts, I also have a fibre art podcast called Knot Weave Stitch, which gives plenty of helpful tips, tricks and information.